It's a Wednesday morning and we are back here on Breakfast Central on News Central, welcoming you to the show. Well, today, as usual, like every single day, what we do here on Breakfast Central is to bring the stories closer to you. And that's exactly what we're going to do this morning on a Wednesday. Well, don't forget that you can be part of the conversations by simply following us on all socials. Drop a comment or two, or better still, as you watch our live tweets, you could say live programming, you can also drop one or two comments as well and let us know what you think about the stories. Well, today, just like yesterday, every single citizen is looking forward to see what would happen in a particular state in Nigeria. Talking about the food basket of the nation. We're talking about Benue State, to be precise. Well, today marks a special day for them because the #1 citizen, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has been so gracious, as it were, to buy out time from his very busy schedule to ensure that he stops by Benue State and check up on the governor and the people concerning what they have recently gone through. Now, we're talking about the spate of killings that's taking place in Benue State right from the weekend up until now. But many still wonder, what time will the president arrive? And what preparations are being put in place? Well, let me tell you quickly that videos have surfaced online, especially right from yesterday night, that shows that Benue residents are busy cleaning the streets, cleaning and ensuring that it is sparkling clean so that when the president comes, he would get to behold a clean state. Can you imagine that? Well, we'll try as much as possible to ensure that we find these video clips and also show them to you. Not just that, there's been a press release from the governor where he's mandated that today is a public holiday in Benue State, not just to honor those who have lost their lives, but for the fact that the president is indeed arriving in the state. What do you make of these situations? Well, take a look at that on the screen. The Benue State government has declared Wednesday, 18th June 2025 as public holiday. This is in honor of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, who is scheduled for a one-day visit to the state to commiserate with the government and people of the state over incessant security crisis. Well, if you look at the last paragraph there, it says, well, second to last, let's just continue. It says, note, however, that those engaged in essential services like health workers, security agencies, and banks are exempted from this holiday. Benue residents are urged to come out en masse to receive the president and his entourage to the state on this presidential commiseration visit. Now, this is where I press pause. Now, this is a state that's struggling from what we call incessant attacks. You could call it the Benue Massacre, whichever way, because that's exactly what it was. But calling for residents to come out en masse, to do what, actually? To support the president for coming? Well, these are the questions we'll be looking to find answers to, but there are many layers to this because as we go into the wake-up conversations properly, I need to quickly also remind you that I'm not alone. Well, my name is Joe Hansen. I'm welcoming you to Breakfast Central. And of course, we do have the lady who's here again for day 2. Judith is in the house.
Thank you so much, Joe. A very good morning to you. And also good morning to our viewers watching from home. Day 2 of me on here. And most likely my last day for this week as well.
Oh.
But thank you so much for the warm welcome, I will say. But back to the
But don't say last, you never can tell.
Well, you know, I'm not the owner of the fate. I'll let the fates, you know, take its turn.
What do you make of the fate of the president arriving today and then the cleaning?
A very somber mood, you know, that's happening in Benue State, and to see that the residents are being asked to clean the state and come out en masse and in entourage to welcome the president is what I have been talking about when it comes to the Nigerian political space and the politicians and the governors and the senators and the House of Representatives. And you know what that is?
What is it?
Sycophancy. It's what it is at best. People have died in a state. Lives and properties have been lost. Families torn apart. They will never, ever remain the same again. And what does the governor care about? And what the governor is asking the people to do is to clean up the state and prepare for the homecoming of the king. No, sorry, apologies. The president.
The president.
You know, and so that's what it is. And it's a somber reflection what's going on in the country today. It's really hard. It is saddening to ask the people who are in mourning, who do not know if their community is next in line of these attacks that we're seeing. Instead, they are asking, you know, instead of that, you're asking the residents to come out en masse and welcome in procession, welcome the arrival, herald the arrival of the president. I have no words except
I really can't seem
this is the politics that we find ourselves in.
I can't seem to put my hand on it, because I really don't understand that a state is mourning and you're telling the people to come out to welcome the president. It is what the president is expected to do. Let us not forget, too, that prior to the 2023 elections, some of these states that have been hit hard by insurgency welcomed, not open arms and thronging the streets, but it saw the presidential candidates, the political parties, go to these states and even engage, most of them engaged in dance-a-thon. I don't know if you remember the politicians, where they were dancing like there's no tomorrow. They were grooving, telling the people, come out. It was a dance-a-thon.
Please.
Because they just told you, come out, vote. But I really need to understand this. I mean, it's really worrisome. But then again, let's look at another press release that did come out. Invitation to welcome the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This says, I'm pleased to notify you at the instance of our dear Governor, His Excellency, Reverend Father Dr. Hyacinth Aliyah, the leader of the, Number 2, the support group's constituency is required to form a colorful shoulder-to-shoulder spread procession from airports to Wurunkom roundabout and down to Government House Makurdi, where the President will address a town hall meeting. Accreditation will be done strictly by the numbers and colors. Leaders of groups will contact the office of SSA to the governor on special groups mobilization. For more information, kindly accept the governor's gratitude for your commitment and be assured of my highest regards and esteem. Sincerely, Honorable Francis U. Ngutswen, Senior Special Assistant on Special Groups Mobilization. So this is also a clear reminder as well. However, there's also been an apology, on the letter. We also hear that there's an apology on the letter, informing people. Because listen. If you just tuned in, I mean, let's remind our viewers.
Absolutely.
This is Breakfast Central, and our first wake-up conversation is focused on today. Today marks a special day for the people in Benue State, because the president, like I rightly started the show, in his very busy schedule, very busy, very tight, I decided to make small time, create time to just visit the people and feel what they feel and speak with them. But these are people that are mourning, they're in crisis. However, while the president is coming, some, so-called, I'm trying to watch my words.
Well, unfortunately, I can't help myself anymore when watching the words.
People just feel, oh, the president, okay, you know what we'll do? Everybody sweep the area, beautify it, let the cultural group come out, let's dance and dance for the, what? You are mourning, no?
And that's the sheer disregard of life that we see in Nigeria. Whether it's our politicians, whether it's just regular, everyday Nigerian.
Maybe I should leave this story for you.
No, and that's what it is. It's the sheer disregard of lives and property. And then afterwards, you come out to apologize and say, oh, we're sorry about that. And it begs to ask the question about where your empathy lies as a leader, where your proactivity lies as a leader, and where you value the lives that you seek for to be voted for, you got into that office and somehow you forgot what really matters as the governor of the state. And it begs to ask the question about your religion as well. And I hate that we're bringing it up, but we do have to bring it up as well. You are the leader of a church, right? And so when you are a leader of a church, you do understand what the value of life and death. You do understand what it means. You do understand what community building means. You do understand the lives and what Nigerians are going through. Then if you now trickle it down to Benue, you understand that that was on the platform you campaigned for. And in barely 2 years, you put out that statement asking your constituents and the people of Benue who are in mourning. Now, not just in the state, but also outside the states and all the nations and everyone as well as mourning. And you're doing this, there are no words. Except
there's definitely, in short, let me take my glasses off and let me repeat the statement that has been said by many people.
Right.
What Nigeria cannot do does not exist. This time, yes, I saw it. Some people have been putting out, not
right.
what God cannot do.
Right.
People are, for me, I think that statement should not even be attributed to God. What
right.
God cannot do does not exist. No, there's something God cannot do. There are a few things he wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of Nigeria, what Nigeria cannot do, because you've said it all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm holding back.
Because
two things. I mean, we need to understand as well that, I mean, for our viewers, in as much as we are, broadcast journalists, and we need to put these stories together. We need to, of course, speak to our correspondent who's right there, Joshua Marayi, put 1 or 2 calls together, write the stories, get the facts. There comes a time where, as journalists, you have to take a pause while you're putting the story together and say, come.
None of this makes any sense.
You look at your skin and say, am I still human?
Yes.
Or is something wrong with me or people today?
Yes.
Because somebody lost 20 members of his family.
You're asking him to come out
and you're telling him to come out and hail.
And do all the pomp, the pageantry of welcome.
What?
It's
anyway.
it's a sycophancy, but and again, I don't know the term to describe what has happened, right? Besides the sycophancy, whether or not this is incompetence, because it's not incompetence, right? So there's no word to describe what that letter is, what that call was for. There is no word to describe it if one was to describe this except sycophancy. Now, I do know that everyone's going to come out and say, oh, Judith, you shouldn't have said that. And I will more than take it back if you give me another adjective to describe what that letter meant. Again, let's put it out there that they have come out and apologized, but that letter should not have existed in the first place. No way on Mother Nature's green earth should that letter have ever existed. Nobody needs to write a letter to the president to welcome him to a state where over 200 and counting are dead, lost, charred bodies are scattered, littered in a Goma local government community, and you are writing letter asking
people to come out.
Please.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Still staying with this story. Let's take it to the next phase. The next phase has got to do with the fact that the Senate this time did not wait for 48 hours, but they waited for over, let's say, 72 hours or thereabout before they put their voice into the situation of things happening in Benue State. We did see a tweet where a supposed, I don't like mentioning the name, called a cross-dresser, had said that if he were the one, the Senate would have assembled and called very dark man and called him for spraying of Naira and why he was locked in prison. But in the case where he was the one who put out the tweet, but in the case where people were killed, the Senate did not bother sitting down. And there's no way you're not going to, take those sentences and merge it to reality.
Right.
And then you say to yourself, oh, but that's true.
It is true.
Anyway, the Senate decided to finally sit down. And in their sitting, they said they started lamenting about the killings and so on. And they made mention of what concrete actions needed to be taken or needs to be taken to ensure that they put a stop to this consistent, incessant killing that's been taking place in Benue State. Well, let's see, we'll have the video there so we could show it to you. And we'll also highlight some of the points that they raised. And possibly we'll also see what will happen after this.
We sympathize and commiserate with our compatriots in Benue State, especially those families that have lost the lives of their wards, their children, their benefactors. And like I said, the Senate, together with the executive, they are the ones that made sure that by Wednesday, which is tomorrow, we will be on ground with a retinue of senators to commiserate with our people in Benue State. And at the same time, more importantly, our intention, because just of recent, we called for a security dialogue in Nigeria and one of the critical stakeholders. Because we think we had had enough of these incessant killings and losses of lives. So these are part of reasons why the Senate is desirous in making sure that there's going to be a security summit whereby critical stakeholders, not only the military or security agents, will be participating, including the media and the CSOs and individuals in Nigeria and the youth and women. That's part of the reason why we have done that one, even not envisaging what happened just about 2 days ago in Benue State. Because we know on our own for some time, for years back, we have been experiencing this, and then there had not been a stoppage to it.
And that's Senator Daramodu there. Just to announce to our viewers that we look forward to have the Senator join us here on Breakfast Central tomorrow, which happens to be a Thursday, of course, to continue these conversations about insecurity. I don't know, but we're starting to see more reasons in what the Senator just said, why there needs to be a security summit.
Yeah.
I like the angle that he said it from, that it's not just going to be a security summit of members of the parliament and so on. It's also going to include the media, you know, key stakeholders, people who actually are Nigerians. When I say are Nigerians, they're not just lawmakers, but those who are outside of that circle. And that's a good one, because the issue of state policing still rears its ugly head. And I want to believe that this could move the motion that it's high time a review on state policing is actually put on the table again, because there's a lot. We've had security experts talk about how thin our security agencies are. And then when you mobilize them to a particular state, what if we have a similar incident it starting all over again in places like Kano or in other places that are very prone? Are you also going to move the same military back again to that area? There's a lot.
And Joe, forgive me if I don't toe the same line as you do.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
I mean, right, because in my opinion, I strongly believe that we've been talking about this for far too long. Actions need to be had. The Chibok girls are still in captivity. Some of the Chibok girls are still in captivity. And every year, it's now 11 years that those girls are still in captivity and not been released yet. Then, till now, Plateau has disintegrated, rebuilt, and now it's on the brink of another disintegration. Same goes for Benue. It's since 2023, over 1,000 deaths. Communities have been destroyed, agrarian communities. People are still struggling to build their lives together again. So a summit might be a step, but we have taken this step before. It's like, you know, the Brian McKnight song, you know, three steps back, you know, 1 step forward. What are we doing? You know, I think that what we really need is intelligence. What we really need, state policing, good and fine. But also, I strongly believe that the police, I mean, where there was a news piece, I think was it late last week or early this week, where, you know, Kaya Gbetokun, the IGP, was saying that, you know, they are against state policing and they do not believe that the state policing can work, that there's still so much gaps in the system itself for state policing to work, and that, you know, there's still budget deficits, there's still a lot that needs to be done in terms of equipment, arming, manpower, and the rest, right? And so I think that the summit should not end at summits. We've had talks, we've had chiefs. It shouldn't end there. What it should be is translate into action, actionable steps, actionable plans. Whose head is going to be on the chopping block? Who is losing their jobs? Who are the intelligence?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody.
You know, trust deficit. Again, we have to address that because they are saying that they did call out for help. I mean, there are communities that we know that they say they did call out for help before the security agencies arrived.
Yes.
There were checkpoints in Benue State.
Yes.
Before this happened in Goma. What's happening?
But don't forget, too, that the military has also been fingered in this entire situation.
Right.
The CDS has also highlighted that, I mean, they've all agreed, the security chiefs have agreed that there seems to be lapses and internal, you know, conspiracy, whether you look at it in a different way or a different light. And these need to be attended or addressed immediately. But that's it. I think we're counting down to the president's arrival in Benue State. We do have our team on ground in Benue State. They've been combing around trying to ensure that they give the support. One thing we also need to know is that without the media, the government or governance wouldn't be as smooth as you can think. So the security chiefs, name it, the people of Benue State, you would need the media around you to ensure that every single act to curb this violence is indeed documented. And that's exactly what our team is doing there. Hopefully, we'll get to join them maybe before the show wraps up and hear what the state is looking like. Maybe the streets, since they said they should keep them clean. I did mention that we had a footage. Maybe we'll get that footage in the course of this that showed people cutting grasses in the wee hours of the night ahead of the president's arrival, as if that's the most important thing that should be done. We're not talking about DNA tests on the charred bodies to identify who they belong to, but I know that's a long call. You know,
and I'm sure there are bodies that, anyway, it is what it is.
That's it. But let's move away. All right, that's the video.
There it is.
There it is, guys. This is what's going on in Benue State just a few hours ago at midnight, from the night ahead of the president's arrival. Is this what is important? Cutting grass? What does 200 plus lives lost, how does it equate to cutting of grass?
Like I said, it's the herald arrival of the you know, the K word.
I really, you know, sometimes we, like I said to you, when you put these stories together, you write them, sometimes we ourselves take a pause. And like I said, I personally, I'm like, okay, am I still human? Let me find out if I'm still okay, you know, mentally, because there's no way. I've not gone to a house where people are grieving, and you go to the house to visit the bereaved.
And they're sweeping for you.
And you see the bereaved telling you, Chelsea's playing today.
Welcome.
And they're dancing. And you're like,
getting egg or bread.
Exactly. You know? And that's
Cola Noto getting egg. What do you like? Champagne or wine? We'll get some for you. You know, whilst you're there, let me just bring my daughter. Come and reel out the nursery rhyme for your uncle.
Do you understand?
We'll be back.
It doesn't, they don't. So what is, maybe the people too need, I don't know. Let's move on. Let's go to our next story. Our next story on Wake Up Conversation has to do with one that we talked about when it definitely trended. It's got to do with... My
favorite topic.
Yes, it's got to do with a man of God, pastor, Mr. DeFarasi. Reports have it that he checked into the police station concerning the viral gun-like video that we did see. If you don't remember that video, we'll see if we can put it up for you right away so you could see that video once again before we also bring to you the police statement that you can find on the screen. Take a look. So there it is. Nigerians decided to highlight what we see here in this video and say, come on, a man of God holding a weapon that looks like a gun, or is it a gun? So rumors had it that it's a gun. Some said, no, it's a stunt gun.
It's a stunt gun.
Some said, no, it's this, it's that. And some went straight into research, dug deep, and brought out images that looked exactly like what you see, and then they highlighted. But then again, the curiosity was on the fact that, but this is a man of God now.
Yeah.
Why is he having this kind of weapon with him now? And some said, oh, this is Lagos. Lagos is not safe.
Yeah.
And then everything landed to the fact that, does the law allow you to have this if it's not licensed, and so on and so forth. But the man of God came out in the sermon and clearly said that he wasn't holding a gun. I remember I stood here and I told Olive that, okay, that's fine, but at least bring it to the podium and say, this is what I was holding. And then there are different stories to what happened, that the person was referred to as a mob. And the mob was about to attack. But we saw that video, there was no sense of attack. There was nothing. So it's been back and forth. But then again, Nigerians now said, please, you need to do your job, police officers. If you don't, then we would have a cause to worry that you are engaged in selective policing, especially when you are dispensing your duties. And lo and behold, the police put out a report yesterday and said, yes, that they have heard Nigerians, they've heard you, and they decided to do their own job. And what did they say? Well, in the post on X, the police went ahead to say that they invited the pastor, and then he showed up, said, no one is above the law. You see that first statement? Yeah. It's like the police were clapping when they said that statement, like...
with the exclamation mark there at the back of the law there.
Exactly. Pastor Paul Adefarasi has turned himself in at the Lagos State Police Command Headquarters, Ikeja, and is currently being interrogated by detectives who have commenced investigation on the case since the video surfaced online showing the pastor holding a gun-like object against another road user while driving in an unregistered vehicle. They highlighted unregistered again. The outcome of the investigation will be made public, and we can tell you here on Breakfast Central that the outcome of that investigation has actually been made public by the police. This early hours of this morning.
Have you seen it?
Let me look for it. Yep. I think I found it. Yes. The early hours of this morning, they did come out with the update. They said Pastor Paul Adefarasi, who turned himself in today at the Lagos State Police Command over a viral video, so on and so forth, against another road user, was interrogated, and he volunteered cautionary statement to the police investigators. They went ahead to say the following, that what was recovered from him, the gun-like object seen in the viral video, is not
a gun,
a lethal weapon. So the police has clarified that. It is not a lethal weapon. I hope that puts everybody's mind to rest.
Right.
Or firearm, they said it's not. They said, but a stun gun. So it is not a lethal, but it is a stun gun, which is a prohibited anti-riot equipment. It is not allowed. It is prohibited. The pastor has been granted bail while investigations continue into the case. Let me let you slide with this. Let me let you slide with this.
Look, never been a fan of religious leaders, never been a fan of, you know, first of all, I want to commend the Nigerian police. Although it was late, nonetheless, we commend you for making sure that you were able to invite him over, and also big shout outs to the pastor for turning himself in, and then investigation, and also giving out a full statement and identifying what that weapon was, whether it was an assault weapon or anti-riot weapon. Now they have clarified it. But my concern is the individual who is involved in this. This is not the first time we've seen you in very damning light. This is not the first time we're seeing you in very damning light. The very first time we saw this was in traffic, although the video is still disputed, right? But one thing is clear, this is the second time we've seen you in that way. Why are you brandishing a stunt gun in broad daylight? In broad daylight, on a roundabout that's clearly leading to what looks like, you know, Kingsway Road or Ikoyi, right? You're going into Banana Island from the Link Bridge. So the question is, why are you driving like that? What exactly is the issue? So I think that, how did he get the stunt gun? Who are the people who he's bought this thing from? How did he get into the country? I want to know what the network is. Not necessarily, also him, he needs to question himself and his behavior. But most importantly, How was he able to lay his
Remember, as we say,
hands
he's a man of God who touch not my anointed.
and do my prophet no harm, but he can do other people harm? Just a question. You know what I mean? But you can brandish that in broad daylight and cause harm to other people. I just want to know, you know? So I think that we need to, the police shouldn't stop here, investigate how he got it, where did he buy from, who was the purchase, who are the persons selling it. If this is contraband in the country, then find out the network and bring it down. That's all I got to say.
Well, I think now Nigerians and Lagosians can go to bed. And you know, one thing I need to say to people, let's be very careful. Let's be very careful on how we accept everything that someone says. Do your own due diligence.
Right.
That's why we've seen cases in the past and history where someone comes forth and says, everybody eats grass, and people start eating grass.
Yeah.
So everybody kill yourself. Remember the case in Kenya?
Yeah.
And people started killing themselves and their families. All because they said, no, this is it. Where am I leading to? Let's be careful. Some people came out fighting that it was AI. Yes, the tweets are there. Let's be careful. Let's be careful. And while we commend the police, if I'm invited today, I would go. And when you do that investigation, you find one thing, it's good. I commend the police and I commend the pastor too for going, because we must uphold the law.
Yeah.
Like I told Olive, if people are running from killing in Benue, they are running from headsmen, they are running from a failed state of governance, where do they run to? They run to the religious leaders, and the religious leaders are now...
That's what I said.
Let's bring to you our top stories for today. Enough of the wake-up conversations. Let's see what we have for you today on Breakfast Central.
Oh, yes, indeed. We get started with President Tinubu to visit Benue State today over killings. Joshua Maraya, our correspondent, is on standby. And the Benue State governor rejects call for self-defense, backs community policing amid killings. He says no to self-defense. And PENGASSAN accuses government marketers of exploiting Nigerians, demand fuel price cut to 700 to 750 naira. And lastly, lawmakers are deliberating on Rivers SWDC Benue insecurity despite recession. We got all the details as well on our newspapers front pages right here on Breakfast Central. Almost said extra there.
Thanks so much for joining us. Let's go straight to our very first story. Well, over the weekend, 200 lives were lost in Yelewata alone, with families wiped out and buried in shallow graves. Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is expected in Benue State today, which happens to be a Wednesday. His first visit since the bloodshed actually began.
Now, the planned visit of the president comes after lots of criticism over the delayed response to the attacks. Many say the visit is overdue, while others say they see it as a chance, perhaps the last, to show that leadership still listens. But for the people of Benue, this isn't about politics, it's about survival. And so joining us to discuss this is founder, Soar Empowerment Foundation and convener, Middle Belt Concern, E.A. Jonathan Ichavu. E.A., a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here. I mean, you are a resident and also, you know, a resident and indigent of Benue. So more than ever, at this time, our heart goes out to you, and to everyone who is in Benue at this time. You are there now in Benue. Let me ask you, what's it been like, you know, with your work, looking at the displaced camp? What's going on? Talk to me.
Okay, so basically, we're just tired, traumatized, it's just tired. These attacks have been going on since 2001. The first IDP camp was opened in Ukbiam in 2001. So we had a complete series of government failures, whether it's PDP, APC, or whatever letter. These have been going on, and they've only ramped up. I have been working on this issue for the last 11 years. And so it has gotten progressively worse with each administration. Of course, when the APC came in 2015, it went haywire. We remember there were mass burials, mass killings. we have a lot of them underreported. And then with this new administration that came on, when President Tinubu and Governor Alia came on in 2023, we had hoped we would see an end to these things. And instead, what happened was the attacks continued. In 2023 alone, we had 120 attacks in Benue that we counted with our partners. In 2024, we had 128. And now in 2025, we've had 45 attacks. And basically, you can see the number of people who have been dead. It is over 1,100. I have the figures. This year alone, 471 people have been killed. The Yelewata massacre is one of many. And this one got attention, a lot of attention, because it is right on the road between Lafia to enter Makurdi from Abuja. Yelewata is right there. It's about, I think, 30 kilometers from Makurdi or less than that. One, it's smack on the expressway. Two, we've had media blackouts. These are severely underreported. And this is where we have questions. They're severely underreported. The state media does not report them. International media doesn't report. National media does not report. In the last few months, we've had media houses coming out more and more. And even at that, we've had a governor who has consistently seemed to be in denial and seems to try to downplay the seriousness of these issues for reasons best known to him. Now, the people are tired, they're discouraged. You have many populations living in settlements, host communities, IDP camps. We went to the IDP camp in the international market on Monday, where they moved the people from Yelewata, those who were displaced. And they were just all over the place. They have over 2,000 people. In fact, one of our partners estimated it was about 6,000, more like it. And you could see that there was no clear preparation for them by the state. So there is that. So there's constant hunger. The people are not able to farm anymore. These terrorist headsmen, and that is what it is, terrorism, it is genocide. Somehow, I don't know how the Nigerian government has succeeded in getting the media to keep reporting them as bandits and unknown gunmen. This is ridiculous. These are terrorists. You saw what they did in Yelewata. These are the things they've been doing. They did this in Awasi on December 25th, 2024. It was underreported, it was downplayed. The state governor did not even go there. And I dare, even till now, our state governor, this Yelewata, he only went there for the first time yesterday. This is not far from his government house. The Taraku that I went to Taraku yesterday to visit some displaced people that had been displaced from a place called Aondana, which is, Taraku is about, again, it's about 30 kilometers from Makurdi. And this Aondana actually, by the way, is the village of the Catholic bishop, the bishop of Catholic Makurdi diocese. So that's Bishop Anagbe, who raised the alarm some weeks ago about this terrorism and this attempt to wipe out the people in Benue and take over their lands. So the situation is dire, and our governor is in denial. Our president, they have basically failed in their duty, which is the primary purpose of government, to secure the lives of citizens and ensure their welfare. So the mood, honestly, is grim. There is a lot of hunger. Having said that, the people are also very faithful. They believe that they will eventually be vindicated and that they will overcome, because they have been resilient. They've stayed the course. They've lost and buried so many people. Some of them, we have some of the names. Some of them have been killed in the bushes. You go to recover the bodies, they will even kill the security agents that go, and so on and so forth. So it's really, really challenging. Now, let me add that Nigerians have been very responsive. They've been sending in relief materials. And so the Nigerian people are with the people of Benue. But I will add that this is not just a threat to Benue. So this is not just about Benue. Benue and Plateau happen to be the epicenter. As I mentioned, I work with Middle Belt Concern. In our work, we've seen this ramping up across the Middle Belt. This is our food-producing region. So basically, this is a war strategy being devised by these terrorists in connivance with certain people in our government, because I do not understand how attacks can happen. Since this thing has happened, have you heard that they're investigating who came in? Have you heard that they're investigating who funded it? Instead, we're just having smokes and mirrors, all kinds of conversations. Oh, it is this one. They got this. What is the National Security Advisor? What are our security agents? What is the President, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, doing to get the people who are behind these people who come with so many weapons? So we need to understand these attacks are happening. We're having them in Enugu, we're having them in Edo, we're having them across the country. And if I would not even be surprised, I dare say, these terrorists are banding up Boko Haram, Lakurawa, Mahmuda, and infiltrating our cities and our states. So it is not just a Benue issue. If they get Benue, they get the Middle Belt. Nigeria, as we know it, is gone. So I am sounding the alarm. This is not the time to be saying, oh, is ABC, this and that. What is the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, doing? He was here a few weeks ago. 2 weeks ago or so, after Bagiri, we were told that the Chief of Army Staff was going to come, or was it even last week, that he's going to come and relocate to Benue. He came, spent maybe 2 days here, and went off back to Abuja. Now, the president himself has said that he's giving these instructions, they are not followed. So you're the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. If your instructions are not being followed, will you not see that, one, they're sabotaging your security efforts, sabotaging your administration, and you should you not make sure you relieve those heads of the security agencies, starting with the National Security Advisor himself, and make sure you investigate them for alleged complicity, because we do not understand. The defense budget has been the biggest it has ever been. What is happening with that money? How come in this age of the 21st century, people can come on motorcycles, drive all the way down, whether within the bushes between Lafia or wherever they came from, into Yelewata, come and kill people, attack, do this thing, operate for 3 hours unstopped. 3 hours. Meanwhile, there's Army Division, the 72nd Division, not too far away, maybe another 10 kilometers from Yelewata. What is going on? That same Sunday, as we were mourning and still screaming and crying, this same group, or whoever they were, attacked near the Air Force base here in Makurdi, a place called Abwa, between Makurdi and Boko. So my question is, what is going on? This is a genocide, and it's not just going to stop with Benue. It will spread. I'm not trying to be a monger fear. Those of us who are in farming communities, we know what is happening. As far as Kwara North is involved, we're seeing these attacks, even in the Southwest. And we're downplaying this thing. Meanwhile, it is an existential threat for Nigeria. Okay. So this is not just about Benue. Benue right now happens to the hot spot. Okay. We don't want a situation where we just have dialogue.
Yeah.
President will come and do his own, whatever.
All right.
They must.
I mean, you said a whole lot in your conversation with us. Just starting off, you've highlighted why the governor, you don't understand what the governor is doing, because even some security experts have asked the question that this is a subnational issue and it's only expected that the governor would do all he can. And you also highlighted a very sad reality that the governor only went to Yelewata just yesterday since the news broke. So it also took him a longer time before he could go there. I want to ask you, Nigerians have continued to question government's priorities amidst economy and security challenges. Do you think that the current administration, the government, is prioritizing political crisis resolution over the current matters that affects the people? I mean, that's one question I would love to ask EA when she is able to join back. I do understand that her network is not too stable. Hopefully she returns, but she's made some very key points. Yes. And being one who has worked with different IDP camps, right. She's been there, she's worked with these people, she's helped them out of their misery, as it were, one way or the other, to ensure that they are able to find their feet again after these incessant attacks. And she highlighted a very key thing, which is what we've highlighted here yesterday on the show. Mm-hmm. If the president or the current administration deems it fit you know, to put a state of emergency in River State to protect Nigeria's oil and gas, you know, a powerhouse, then this is the food basket as well. If there's no food and there's oil, which one will trigger the society the most? Do we have ear back? If we do, are you there with us? Are you back with us?
Yes, I'm back.
All right, great. I'm sure the network. I'm sure the network would allow us to continue our conversation. I wanted to ask you: do you think the current administration is prioritizing political, you know, fights? It's focused on politics rather than focus on caring for the needs of citizens, as especially looking at what's going on in Benue State?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's very clear. While these killings have been going on, we had Bagi, we had Awasi, we've had in various states, we've had Plateau. Our president has not seen fit to go there. Here in Benue, our governor hardly shows up at these places. We've not seen him visit an IDP camp, right? So instead, what we've seen are billboards. They're all over the nation. You enter Abuja, between Abuja and town, 2027, door to door, PBAT, Lagos, same thing. Meanwhile, you're a nation in mourning. And our president is busy giving condolences to other countries, whether it's India, whatever. Meanwhile, we're not seeing him on site or serious action being taken to stop these killings. So they absolutely, they're prioritizing politicking over the lives of the people. And this is all across Nigeria. We're talking Middle Belt, we're talking Southwest, we're talking Southeast. So this is clear to us as Nigerians, and we are beginning to see the character of the people we have in leadership, that they do not seem to care about the Nigerian people. They give priority over their politicizing. Well, I mean, at this point in time, instead of governing and doing your #1 job according to Section 14(2)(b) of the Constitution, you are busy politicking all over the place and talking 2027 and saying 2020. I mean, that is ridiculous. What good is it to you if terrorists take over your land? God forbid they enter Aso Rock and take you over. Again, I am still saying it. The president must look into the National Security Advisor's Office. What are they doing there? And the chiefs of security. And Governor Alia, I am saying it, we do not understand why Governor Alia is dilly-dallying. He is not coming out and standing by his people. He's wishy-washy here and there. Yesterday, he was on an interview, being asked difficult questions, started saying he couldn't hear, and so on and so forth. If you can't hear, why don't you call a press conference? Why don't you call for help? And how are you using security votes? So we are extremely disappointed with Governor Alia's administration, and we are especially given where his background, and we're absolutely shocked at the failings, at his dilly-dallying, at his lack of care, his lack of compassion. When this thing happened on Friday night into Saturday, the people went out to protest, and they came out with police, with all kinds of, they were even shooting at the protesters. Where were these policemen with their tear gas and whatever it was, the night Yelewata was being attacked? We hear, for example, even at the federal level, by this time they should have deployed. That very night they were attacking. By this time they should have gone after. Where's the investigation? In this day, no drones, nothing. What are we doing with these trillions being voted for security? Or are they being diverted towards 2027? This is the question. And these are the questions we are demanding from our president, from the National Security Advisor, from our security agencies, and from Governor Alia. We have had enough. We have had enough.
Now, as we're putting, Governor Alia on the table here, let's also talk about this holistically from a national point of view. Joe here has just really pointed out that, critics have said that the issue in the Middle Belt is a sub-national issue. And you also did point out that, the chief of the Nigerian Defense Staff did reside in Makurdi for a while and then left, and then this attacks happened. And so we have to talk about the synergy within the national, on the national level, the state level, plus the security agencies. Where are the gaps? You are there, you are working with the displaced people, you're working with the people on ground, grassroots. So I think you are the best to tell us, where are the gaps that is missing? What are we not seeing from this point of view?
Well, I'll speak as a person who's working with the displaced, and as someone who has been in this thing for a long time, responding to these to the humanitarian needs. I'll give you an example. I think it was yesterday your reporter went to Yelewata, and he was saying that They cannot identify some of the killed people. The bones are still there. In all of this that has been happening, have you seen investigators come on that scene to even try and determine what happened? Have you seen security agencies seriously interviewing the eyewitnesses to say this, when did they come, what happened? And so, no, it is basically instead the citizens that are giving up this information. We've not seen anything of that nature. That is one. So there are serious investigative intelligence gaps here. So again, we ask, what are they doing with all this money? These are repeated attacks. They've followed the same pattern. They come through the bushes. They've been kidnapping people. They'll take them away. These are things that they're supposed to be investigated, right? Have you heard the police investigate? We've not heard. We've not heard that but when it is time to find innocent protesters who are simply protesting for their right to live as citizens properly in Nigeria, that's when they will know how to trace your phone, to do drone whatever, to go and pick you up from your house in the middle of the night. How come? Look at where Benue is. Look at where Plateau. We're smack in the center of the country. So how come even sometimes they'll tell you it's foreigners and so on and so forth. Even Governor Alia has said it's foreigners. So how come you're not able to arrest those foreigners? Governor Alia keeps saying, oh, it's some politicians that are doing A, B, and C. So name those politicians and the security agencies should investigate. Because this is not about this. Now, let me shake the table here, right? There are allegations in Benue State that cattle breeding interest partially funded Governor Alia's campaign. These are rumors we keep hearing. We don't have proof, and we're calling on Governor Alia to come out and tell us, where do his interests lie? Because this has gotten too much. These are human beings. These are lives. These are people created in the image of God. He is a former priest, suspended, by the way, from the Catholic Church. But he should remember his calling. Where do his loyalties lie? So we're not seeing investigations. We're not seeing any concerted effort. Your people have been displaced. We have not seen you visit IDP camps. We've not seen you go to ground zero until IDP came yesterday. Now you're saying that the people, of course, I'm sure you'll come to that, about self-defense and so on and so forth. When you leave the people no choice, why are you there, Governor and President, collecting taxes if you cannot protect the people? What then gives you the right to govern the people and to claim constituted authority when you cannot protect the people? So we need to hear what is going on. Governor Alia, you need to come out and tell your Benue people and tell the people of Nigeria, because you have a responsibility. Because of these attacks, food insecurity, now we should all know this is why the cost of food is so high. It's affecting everybody in Nigeria. So this is not just about Benue or the Middle Belt. We're all in this thing together. And I will say it again. If Benue and the Middle Belt fall to these terrorists, Nigeria will fall. Life as we know it will not stay. So we need to hold our governors and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to a higher standard.
Yeah, the president is
campaigning for 2027.
Right.
Let us be alive first before we start talking 2027.
The president is coming into the state today. We've seen the press release. We saw the letter. We're not going to get into all of that, but we do know that the president will be coming in to Makurdi today. That is for certain. What do you expect from his visit?
I expect, first and foremost, no politicking. I expect, even though it is late in the day, the governor or the administration of Benue State called a public holiday, a work-free day today. This thing happened Friday night. They've not seen fit to declare days of mourning. So we expect the president to show leadership, first and foremost, by announcing that he's going to change our security agency head and even the National Security Advisor, because they failed. NSA came here, Chief of Army Staff came here, and instead we're getting more killings. So what on earth is going on? One, we expect that he will deploy the best investigators to get to the heart of the people who are behind this thing. Not just the foot soldiers. Who are the people funding this? They come with all kinds of weapons. You saw what a reporter said. They have all kinds of sophisticated weapons. And we expect him to address, even the commissioner of police, why are people protesting? And you're sending people, they were protesting peacefully. You now send people to go and start tear gassing them and to shoot. So we expect some serious change here and sobriety. And we're also expecting to engage across the spectrum. We expect that he will listen to the Catholic bishop, who himself, his own village has been displaced. There is enough information. And we expect that from this day forth, there'll be no more killings. I even dare say he should give himself a target and give his national security advisor and his heads of army security agents, both in and all these places here that they have security, Air Force is here and all sorts, and not just order, but let us see consequences for failure. That if there is one more successful attack, and if people are killed anymore, then those people should be relieved of duty and they should be investigated, because we do not understand. So it is, we expect that, we expect empathy. We expect also that he will work with the state governor and ensure that we have the right people in the right place. I mean, that's a lot to expect, but hey, he is the constituted authority. He has been collecting taxes. He gets all these accolades. Same thing with the governor. Let them put their money where their mouth is and let them lead and do their job.
All right.
Secure the people.
All right. Videos have emerged that ahead of the president's arrival today, there was a directive for public holiday to be actually observed in Benue State. We've also seen videos emerging as well where people are told to clean the environment. I don't know if you've seen those footages, but let's see if we can put them on the screen in the course of me asking this question. There you go. And the residents in Benue State are wondering if this is the most important thing to be done ahead of the president's visit. It's much more like trying to paint a building that's gone through a complete collapse. And that's exactly what many have attributed to this action to. But let me come back to you. You've been in Benue State for some few hours now after the attack, and you see this as well taking place. How are the people reacting, especially to the governor's conscience towards what took place over the weekend? His body language, what does it tell the people currently? And that's my first question. My second question would be, can you also highlight this very key fact that nobody is talking about? I'd like you to please help us. We did hear that there were over 300 bikes or motorbikes that were used to attack the Yelewata community. How long will it take the assailants to ride their bike into that community and then spend 3 hours killing and then ride off again? Over 300 we hear. The timing, riding the bikes, the noise and so on and so forth. Can you help us paint this picture so we can really understand? But first, your reaction to the cleaning of the area ahead of the president's arrival, and then helping us break down the process of using over 300 bikes, motorbikes into the area, attack, kill, spend 3 hours, and then ride again.
So thank you. First, how are people reacting? How Nigerians have always reacted? We're just shaking our heads because this is unfortunately the character of very poor leadership, not just in Benue, across the country. When we went to the IDP camp, I've been here anyway since Sunday. So, I mean, I rushed down from a meeting I was having somewhere. And we went to the IDP camp on Monday evening, the international market. And I called the SEMA official. You should have seen the camp. It was filthy. Papers everywhere, pure water sachets, and nothing. And I said to him, SEMA, what's your plan? Are we not supposed to be keeping this place clean? No dust screens, nothing. And they were like, hey, we're going to arrange the people. You see what I'm talking about? That's the quality of leadership you have. And I actually said to my colleagues on that evening that wait and see. When they hear governor is coming to visit the IDP camp, or maybe one big dignitary, they'll start rushing around and cleaning. I was talking about the IDP camp. That's our character as the leadership. That's what they've done. So the state usually trash everywhere. They don't clean. They don't do anything. They don't cut the grass. You saw them cutting the grass in the media. This is not their normal cleaning schedule. But because the president is coming, and because of the wrong-headedness of our leadership and the sycophancy and the eye service, right? They've started doing this. The people are absolutely, absolutely angry. They are absolutely just bewildered. And again, we're asking, Governor Alia, where do your loyalties lie? That's number one. Now, so we expect, I hope that they'll keep this up. So Governor Alia, please, if you're listening to me, kindly keep up this cleaning schedule so that your people can at least live in clean surroundings, not only when President Tinubu is coming. I do hope that our leaders, the President Tinubu and the like, will learn the art of actually showing up impromptu, sending their advanced team incognito, and showing up to see the real state. Because it's all across our countries. These are our states. That's what happens. You know, I also I share my time between Benue and Lagos. Even in Lagos, when one of these dignitaries is coming, if you're passing from Lekki to Egbe Expressway, what happens? They clear out the beggars. You do the. We should stop this kind of pretend leadership. It is wrong. And that is why we need people of good character in leadership. But that's not the point. Now, second point, asking me, to be honest, that question around how long it takes 300 motorbikes, that is what I'm talking about, the investigation. So we all, of course, watch, when these bad things happen, our leaders tell us, hey, even in America, even in this place, they have this and they have that. No country is whatever, right? But we also see the way they go after terrorists. They see the way they investigate thoroughly, and we see the way they deal with things, and you see the way they value their lives. In this instance, we've not seen any security agency, not the DSS, not the National Security Advisor's Office, not the Chief of Army Staff, not the Chief of Defense Staff, or whoever has jurisdiction, not the police, by the way. We've not seen them deploy to investigate. We've not seen the Chief Commissioner of Police of Lagos State, of Benue State, coming to us on camera every day and telling us, this is what we have found out, or this is what we're doing. These are the investigations. They've stayed behind the scenes. We've not seen anything. Governor Ali has not come on television to address the people, to address his people, or even on radio. There's one speech that was being circulated. This is 5 days after Yelewata, where these are your citizens. So this tells you the character and the quality of leadership, right? And so when you're asking me about this over 300 motorbikes, again, the question arises. We watch all these things. Yeah, we may say they are fiction. We watch all these shows, crime shows, but we've seen how the American government went after Osama bin Laden and how they got him. And it took them how long? In Nigeria, everybody is disappearing. They'll just come and say all these things, smokes and mirrors, but we're not seeing action. So 300 motorbikes, where did they come from? They must have been from a neighboring state. Some of our development workers have indicated or have reported that they've gone to Nasarawa and that some of those killers hide in Nasarawa State. In fact, a development worker told me that they went to carry out some kind of assessment of a community in Nasarawa State, and she saw foreign people just lying somewhere, looking like they have been recruited to come in and do something. This is not far from Makudi. She told me this thing last month. Now, they write reports, they make submissions to the government, federal, state. We have all kinds of reports. We have people like SBM Intel. We have people like Amnesty International. We have all of them writing reports, raising the alarm on the security situation, on the humanitarian situation. What is our response? The response of our government and agency is that we are trying to make them look bad in the sight of the international community, and that we're demarketing Nigeria. Are we for real? And we're saying, they'll come and say, you're trying to politicize the issue. You're the ones playing politics. You're the ones campaigning for 2027 instead of doing your job. So on the question of how 300 motorbikes, how did those bring those bikes coming? Who were they bought from? These guys had petrol cars. They were able to drive from wherever. What routes did they take? We've not seen any of that investigation. Yet, we have a commissioner of police. We have a state governor. We have a national security advisor. We have a chief. So we have a DSS who are able to go undercover. So what are they doing with the security reports? So these are some of the questions. So this second question, we can say is a total failure of state, of governance, of our security agencies. And we're insisting as citizens who have given you this mandate to lead us, that you do your job, security agencies, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you're the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Please kill this politicking for now. Let us first be alive before you can start doing your campaigns.
Yeah, I must say thank you for taking out the time to join us today. Jonathan Ichavu, she is the founder of Sensor Empowerment Foundation and convener of Middle Belt Concern. She joined us to give us a bit of insight following the scores that are dead and charred in Yelewata community in Guma local government area of Benue State. Once again, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we continue with Breakfast Central.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll go on a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Although the Nigerian Senate is currently on recess, legislative activities continued on Tuesday, June 17, as lawmakers convened for various committee sessions in Abuja. The day's engagement focused on developments in River State, legislative work on the composition of the Southwest Development Commission, and the worsening state of insecurity in Benue State. Well, a correspondent did catch a glimpse of every single thing. Let's join Sergey Ibrahim for this report.
The day began with the inaugural meeting of the Senate Committee on the Southwest Development Commission. This follows President Bola Tinubu's assent to the bill establishing the commission, which was earlier passed by both chambers of the National Assembly. The committee is expected to commence the screening of nominees for the commission's management and governing board in the coming days.
Our vision is to provide adequate oversight functions for the good governance of the Commission to harness the vast potentials of the Southwest region. There will be screening exercise for chairman, MD, and other members of the board.
What is important is that we must appreciate that the expectations of people are very high. I'm looking at these commissions as a kind of stopgap and backup, not only to the states, but it's also as a plank of support for the federal government, who everybody knows is blamed for each and everything that is not done right.
Shortly after, the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Rivers Oversight met to screen nominees for the positions of chairman and members of the River State Civil Service Commission and the Independent Electoral Commission. However, the session was not without controversy.
The nominee for the position of chairman of State Independent Electoral Commission in Rivers is from Cross River. We need clarification on that.
I'm not from River State, so I don't know anybody that is going to influence me to do anything otherwise. So I'm going to remain neutral and impartial.
Even if there's nothing in the law saying you cannot appoint from outside of the state, we still need to look at it to be sure that it's not something that would be repugnant to public conscience.
Mr. Chairman, I hereby move that the name of one of the nominees, Mr. Professor Geoffrey Nwoke, be stepped down as a result of the inconsistency until clarified.
I think what is fair is we go ahead with his confirmation subject to that clarification, as opposed to stepping down the confirmation.
The day's proceedings concluded with a media briefing by Senate spokesman Yemi Adaramodu, who addressed several national issues, including the recent attacks in Benue State.
We'll be going together to Benue, that will be going to Benue State tomorrow to meet with critical stakeholders, at the same time commiserate with our people there. In Nigeria, we are even tired of paying condolence visits. We must put a stop to it. Today, Plateau, tomorrow, Benue. The other day, Borno. We must find a way of putting a stop to it.
Although plenary is scheduled to resume on June 24, lawmakers say they remain committed to fulfilling critical legislative responsibilities during the recess. In Abuja for News Central, Sergey Ibrahim.
Well, obvious, very interesting conversation there. Although on recess, they are back, and some of the highlights are what we've seen there in that report package by Sergey Ibrahim. Judith, I think we did highlight earlier on that a spokesperson for the Senate there had mentioned about Benue State, saying that they're going there today.
Right.
Hopefully he joins us here on Breakfast Central to highlight some of these challenges and what the way forward is. But if we track back, would it see the issues concerning the RISIC appointments in Rivers State, where one of the candidates, let me put it that way, had said that he cannot in any way be used to work for the government, for better want of words, saying that, I mean, he's not even from the state.
Right.
So he's certain that he's going to carry out his job in a very seamless manner, remaining apolitical.
Well, all I have to say to that is that the sole administrator of the state is not also an indigene of the state. So, yeah, so we're going to leave it. That's what I was going to say. I mean, being from the state or not being from the state doesn't really affirm that you are going to be neutral, right? So indigene or no indigene, when it comes to politicking, the most important thing is what is in it for you, right? And I do hope that, and I want to pray and hope that that's what it is for him, going in there and taking up this mantle in this position. But most importantly, he should know that he should take the side. If you're going to take sides, take sides for the people, because remember, it's democracy at the end of the day.
I mean, it's good conversations to see, and that's why, I mean, our reporter who's on ground would go ahead and ensure that he brings all the stories to us. Well, let's move on now to a very, very intricate and very interesting conversation that affects you as a Nigerian. How much do you buy fuel, and how much are you looking to buy going forward? And is there going to be any risk of fuel scarcity anytime soon? Well, fuel prices are on the rise, just in case you do not know, across the country, driven by global conflict, particularly the ongoing crisis between Israel and Iran, as well as local inefficiencies. Industry sources say depot prices have spiked. Dangote's prices moved from 825 naira to 840 naira per litre, while other depots are now selling at 900 to 930 naira per litre. Well, let's also tell you that Festus Osifo, president of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASSAN, has accused oil marketers of taking advantage of the crisis to make excessive profits. He still insists, and he insisted, that petrol should be selling for between 700 naira and 750 naira per litre.
Now, this price hike also comes amid an ongoing strike by tanker drivers along the Lekki-Epe corridor in Lagos. Petroleum tanker drivers took to the streets on Monday protesting a 12,500 naira parking fee imposed by the Lagos State government through the Electronic Call-Up Systems Company. In response, the Lagos State government maintained that there would be no reversal of the e-call-up system, accusing the unions of collecting as much as 41,000 naira from drivers without providing any service in return. And so joining us to discuss these developments is the national president of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria, and that's Dr. Billy Gillis-Harry. Dr. Gillis-Harry, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you for coming on. There's so much in this story that we can unpack, from the strike to the call-up fees to the inefficiencies in Nigeria's petroleum sector, the Israel and Iran conflict and what it would mean for the Nigerian sector, plus the instability in the price of depot, and then how much Nigerians get to pay at the pump. But let's start with the price, right? And what we're seeing at the depot, whether it's Dangote or NNPC and Nigerians getting to pay at the depot or rather at the pump. What exactly are we seeing at this time in terms of transparency and regulation with the fuel price?
Well, fuel prices, good morning in Nigeria, and thank you for having us in your studio today. The fact is that economic circumstances and the vagaries of the season and the times, will always give us some change, which is a permanent feature in the life of a human being. Changes. You've already read out the reasons why the price changes are affected, and that is the reality is something that is verifiable, and everybody can see why so many things are changing and how the prices are being, how prices are being affected by it. That is what we have now today. Dangote's price, as you can see, is still the lowest, and hopefully we should be able to, see how this price is effectively implemented at the retail outlets.
All right. What's the impact with the Israel-Iran, war ongoing? What's the impact on the current oil prices? Let's also look at that. I mean, we have an idea, but for the benefit of our viewers, they would want to know, especially every Nigerian on the street often hears, oh, they are fighting somewhere in Israel and Iran. It's going to affect the price, and people start running around with gallons to ensure that they fill up so that they don't start buying petrol at a higher rate. So can you break it down in line with what what has been said by Mr. Festus Osifo, that he doesn't buy that. He doesn't buy it at all. Rather, that petrol should be selling for 700 to 750, and people are taking advantage of it.
Well, let us be, certain that buying fuel in cans and storing is unsafe, and we do not encourage Nigerians to do that. I mean, if you're buying PMS in your car and your car is in a safe place, and you can be able to manage yourself, from moving to only necessary places, that would be the right thing to do. The fact that there is a fight between Israel and Iran is affecting global supply of crude oil. So the moment that fight started, Iran's production started dwindling. And once that situation comes, the price of crude oil in the market will increase, because Iran is a major supplier of crude oil into the global market. So that is just the dynamics. There is nothing extraordinary. And then, of course, with those, rockets and heavy armaments, going around there, I mean, some of them will fall into the sea. Some of them will, go out of the direction of the targets that they're sent down. So shipping becomes endangered. And that itself will become one of the reasons why the prices for the cost of logistics will increase. So these are very plausible and easily understandable reasons why the price of crude oil will change. And once crude oil prices change, of course, there is always going to be a speculation of those who are refining that we need to maximize certain levels of profit to be able to stay in business. So it's a normal business practice, and we do not frown at that.
Now, whilst we're talking about, let's take it back home to this call-up fees and the tanker driver strike. We know that the tanker drivers are literally the sectors, or should I say the nerve of this sector. They are the ones who transport the oil to the final consumer, to all of the far-flung parts of this country. And when they go on strike, it means traffic, it means hurting, and it also means, fuel prices going high. Now, the Lagos State government have maintained that this call-up fees are necessary, but how is your association and also all stakeholders involved trying to streamline this or try to de-escalate tension so that the tanker drivers can pay the fee, leave the roads, and, get on with the final products to the consumers across Nigeria?
Well, it's the same challenge we're having all over. When government comes out and reels out a policy without consulting with stakeholders. First of all, accusations of 41,000 naira being taken is probably just a speculation. And those are the kind of problems that we have. Petron is in full support to ensure that the 12,500 naira should not be paid. First of all, it's too high, and there was no consultation as to why that fee should be paid. It's a call-up system. So what is the cost of the call-up system, and what is the cost of doing a full cycle of one call-up for one truck? So this is why for us in Petron, we have advocated that we shouldn't pay more than 2,000 naira. That's if at all we agree to pay. And government should not just come up and be slapping policies. The seasons are very difficult, and everybody is finding it difficult to survive. So every little thing that is being requested from us as additional payment is like keeping us out of business. So this is a challenge. that the government should see. They shouldn't look at it like it's any direct fight. It's something that we can sit down, calculate what is there, and then agree. That's why we have the Petroleum Industry Stakeholders Forum. So these are some of the things that we should be able to bring to those forums, resolve, and then be able to move. Okay? So you know that the tanker drivers today, they are one of the most critical, last miles, just like petrol. We are the last mile in the entire industry. Even the petroleum tanker drivers will bring their products to our receptacles, and we are the ones that will still be, carrying the brunt of that payment. So it's not just a charge that goes to just a driver. It will be passed on to you that you are sitting in the studio. So when we are putting on the resistance or requesting for explanations, it is for the benefit of Nigerians. So there shouldn't be any sentiment of accusing any one sector of, oh, they are collecting so much money. It's an assertion, and they have reason why certain fees must be paid to be able to maintain services and efficiency. Those drivers need instant response. They get medically, treated. They have insurance, that is working out from between the drivers and the owners of it. So there's quite a lot of money that's been spent. And who pays the money? It's still us, the patrons and the Memans and the Dapmans and the Ipmans of the world. So when you try to put a price, you should ask us, how does it feel? And what is it that is required to do that? So that's where we stand. And we are very much in support of the government not taking the 12,500.
And that means, if you're saying that, that Lagos State did this without consulting stakeholders and, Petron and every other stakeholders do not stand for this amount, that means that the tanker drivers will still be there, not immobile, and that means the final products are not going to get to the consumers. This will cause panic buying and hoarding, and this will also mean a price hike, You
can see the danger. This is why we need to be preemptive in every situation in this country. Now, even if that refusing to load lasts only 2 hours, it's going to impact the system very negatively. So there was no need to allow it to snowball to this point.
Right.
We could have quickly put in. After all, what is government? Government is meant to be in place to serve our welfare and give us the values that we need.
But Lagos State isn't bulging. They're not moving. They have said that 12,500 naira still stands. What will be a lasting resolution? Is it that it will reduce the price to say 5,000, 10,000, or no fee at all?
We have offered that we can pay between 2,000 and 2,500.
And what is Lagos State's response?
Well, so far we have not heard anything from them because we made our commitments very open. We didn't hide. All the stakeholders in the industry took a position, and we decided that the government should be able to sit down and discuss with us. So we should be expecting them to call us, not to say we adamant and then they're giving reasons. Who is going to pay the money? It's us. Where are we going to get the money to pay? From the sky? We are going to get it paid from business.
Anyway, we've looked at this. Hopefully, we did hear there was a meeting that was supposed to hold on Monday, if I'm right. There hasn't been any communique from that meeting with Lagos State. So in other words, we can rightly conclude that after the meeting, nothing has been said from Lagos State. Are we correct to say so?
Well, we are having our own idea of how we are going to make sure that we bring peace and resume work. So we are working on that. Leaders in the industry are meeting, and we are discussing the best way to make sure that Nigerians don't suffer for it.
All right. The spokesperson to IPMAN, Mr. Ukadike, did join us here as well upon the mention of Dangote's trucks. He said it's a welcome development, although he would wish that Dangote would focus more on ensuring that the transport of gas and fuel is done through the pipelines for easy access. What's your take on Dangote rolling out trucks from Dangote to ensure that there's proper delivery of premium motor spirit, and then, of course, as time progresses, we'll be looking at CNGs as well. And these are CNG trucks. What's your take on that? Are there any fears that this could, in one way or the other, impact on already established businesses that are equally doing the same? And you also worry that some drivers may have to abort and then join Dangote. I mean, these are internal conversations that I know that you may have had and other bodies have had after hearing, after hearing that this is what Dangote is set to do.
Well, we think that the Dangote announcement is work in progress also, and we want to be able to watch the development. We hope that there should be a stakeholder meeting on these issues and be able to get answers that will help in running the business more effectively. We, as an organization, we give all the support we can to any of the players, the refiners, the importers, the depot owners, and every single person that is involved in ensuring that our businesses are progressively moving and is very successful. But we will find it very difficult to understand that one company just woke up and they're going to be refining, they're going to be storing, and then they're going to be distributing. And the process in which this is going to be done has not even been broached or discussed with the stakeholders in the industry. There are various, representations in this segment, and we think that most of all these actions and policies should be what we should discuss and look at the results. What are the resultant effects? Once this happens, we fear that monopoly will be what will be rearing its head at the corner, and that's our concern. So our major concern is the project itself is a good one, but how good is it for the success of Dangote and the success of my 3 pump owner station members or 38 pump owner station members? So these are the concerns we have. But August 15th is still quite a distance away. We believe that between now and that time, that we should be able to sit down and discuss. But as a responsible organization, we have reeled out our concerns, and I believe that you had a copy of our press release on the matter.
All right.
So that summarizes exactly.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us and shedding more light on this. Hopefully, we'll wait for that communique to come by. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Many thanks there, Dr. Billy Gillis-Harry. He is the National President of Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria.
Absolutely. Well, away from that story that concerns you, so you wouldn't be afraid when you see this fuel prices skyrocketing. Let's go back to the Benue killings, talking about Benue Massacre. Well, let's quickly paint a picture for you. Now, allegedly, of course, we do hear that over 200 armed men reportedly stormed Yelewata community after dark on Friday, killing at least 100 people. Now, the attack happened despite what you see on the screen there, despite several military checkpoints in the area, according to the Benue governor's technical advisor. Now, top military and police officials visited Benue after the massacre, promising to stop the attack. Now, here's what we know as well. But was this about a farmer header crisis? Well, Governor Alia's advisor, Solomon Yopev, says it wasn't. So what was it then? Well, President Tinubu is visiting today, but will this visit bring real change for the people? Well, the images you see there are images as developed by artificial intelligence, just to paint a picture and let you understand what we truly know. Well, away from what we truly know now, let's have joining us very quickly. We do have a security consultant and MD CEO, Marine Guards Limited, Amadou Samson Ayebe. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you are indeed in tune with the current happenings, that the president will be in Benue State and the governor has called for a complete cleanup of the state. And what would you be expecting to hear from the president? I mean, just prompting your thoughts.
Yeah, good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning.
Good morning, Central TV. I want to come in. It's a very sad moment for us. I am from Benue State, actually. And then I expect that the entire government, the state government, should be mourning. And the president's visit for me is belated because we expect on the spot visits when things like this happen. You have over 200 people being killed. And what really bothers me is these guys that ride on motorbikes coming through major road. Yelewata is just on the major road when coming from Lafia before Daudu. So I don't know where and how in that numbers that they came in and nobody was able to abate that action until the damage has been done. Unfortunately, I am not expecting anything different from other responses we got when things like this happen. The president is just going because from all indication it's going to be another fun fair. The president is visiting Benue State, but on a very sad note. I expect that the cleaning the governor is talking about, the blood, the stains should be left there. I think that to leave a mark, the scar of, letting her first-hand picture of what actually happened. But coming to ask the citizens that should be mourning, that they should come out en masse to clean, to make the state look clean. He's not coming to commission any project, for God's sake. I feel that there's a misnomer in the case of that letter or that memo that went around that citizens should come on en masse. They are not happy. Something has happened. It's not just Benue. Not just Makurdi or Yelewata. We have the sides of Otukpo, Agatu, Ugboju, Onyagede, Ohimini. Just, you can name them. It's been a continuous incessant attacks from these people. So how do we stop it? I expect defense, the chief of defense staff and his service chiefs to put boots on the ground and then wipe these guys away. I don't want to believe that nobody knows where these guys camp, because the information is that these guys camp and they know where they camp. So for me, truly, I am very sad and I feel very sick this morning having to read that memo from the state government that you posted on your TV this morning, that the state should be cleaned and then citizens of Benue State should come out en masse. I expected the president to have been in Benue State on the ground assessment of what has happened, what has been happening, and to see how you profile solution. The chief of army staff was there, and I thought that would bring succor to the people. Rather, there's an increase in the attacks.
Right. Mr. Amodu, I do have to ask about one thing which we're not putting into cognizance here or putting into, and that's the porous borders, right? You are an intelligence, personnel. You're the MDC of Marine Guards Limited. The technical advisor to the governor, we had him on here yesterday, and he did point to the porous borders and also foreign individuals, who must have perpetrated these attacks. And those are sort of the, rumors or the findings or what we hear in press as well. And so you are an indigene of Benue. Do you see this? Are there any truth to these claims or these findings that, the borders are indeed porous and some of the perpetrators of these crimes, not just in Yelewata, but prior to this, are foreigners?
Well, these are not new news to Nigerians. We already have borders, that are porous. We have about, I think, 27,000 kilometers of, land borders with neighboring countries around. And then Benue specifically There's Kwande local government. Kwande local government, where you have Adipo. The Adipo has a headquarters. It borders around Cameroon, and it's a stretch of almost 40 kilometers thereabout, if I have the stretch correctly. I want to say that whether foreigners, whether they are Nigerians, but of course they have their color.
All right, seems to have a little bit of network connectivity there. We'll get back to you. Hopefully the network becomes more stable. Let's join our correspondent Joshua Marayi, who's on ground. We do understand that the president is to arrive maybe any moment from now, a few hours from now. Can you tell us what is being expected? Behind you there, I can see a backdrop that says President Tinubu and Alia, they welcome him to the state. Is that newly installed, or it has always been there? And can you tell us what security is like around you? I could also see security trucks and vans, but let me let you do your job. You tell us quickly. I'm just trying to put my eyes very closely to what I can see right behind you. But share with us what's going on.
Good morning to you, Joe. I am live currently at the food basket of the nation, that is Benue State. And as you can rightly see, are several banners, flex banners that was erected just this morning welcoming the president. It seems like a party-to-party affair. Because based on the writing on the banner, you can clearly see that it is clearly written APC, President Tinubu, Governor Alia, welcome, this and that. But however, things seems to be on a normal here, because I can see that most residents here are going on their daily activities like it's normal, not thinking about the president or much of it. However, there are several security men that have been stationed across several parts of the state capital here, and strategically, because earlier this morning, droves of security men occupied basically every part of the state capital. Behind me is a fire service truck, and as you can see them, they are coming down from their truck. Well, this is just the case because on my right-hand side, rather on my left-hand side, there's a large fire truck standby, waiting to take heat and do the necessary. However, across several parts are security men, soldiers, as well as NAPTIP, even NAPTIP, they too, they've been here. You can see just under that filling station coverage there, you can see some security men on standby with their rifles, ready and alert to ensure that they forestall any breakdown of law and order. But as regards the residents here, I don't think they are really aware that the president is coming, because most times you see that most people defy the rain and stay under waiting for the president. But today, this is not the case. And what we heard that we are expecting the president to touch down the Air Force base. From there, is going to take his possession through this route to the government, to the state government house, particularly.
Right. Joshua, I must say, first of all, that if there's one thing that I would always applaud the Nigerian politicians for, is their proactiveness when it comes to pomp and pageantry. And so that banner behind you is just one, when it comes to the swiftness in pomp and pageantry. But to the people of Benue, were you able to speak to anyone regarding the president's visit today? Are they anticipating, will they be coming out en masse, as we saw from that letter that was put out by the governor, although it was receded afterwards, an apology was stated. But were you able to speak to residents? Are they looking forward to the president's visit?
Yeah, I did that yesterday night, and I spoke to a couple of them who confirmed to me that, yes, they are expectant of the president's presence here. They believe that his visit would give a long-lasting solution to the situation, particularly the conflict that is ravaging several parts of the country. And they are expectant that the president will ask some questions, pertinent questions, and they'll be directed to the state governor as to how well is expending the security vote allotted and allocated to the state, as well as what is really going on. Of course, you know that the state governor is the chief security officer of the state, but notwithstanding, the bulk of the security intelligence stops at the table of the president, I expect that he too would be aware, because from his earlier message, he preached on reconciliation and dialogue. So maybe he's privy to some of the information we are not privy to, and well, we are hoping that those translate into action today upon the arrival of the president in Benue State.
All right, Joshua. Thank you so much for the updates, and I'm sure you give us more updates as we count down to the arrival of the #1 citizen to Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, arriving in Benue State. And let's see what will be said. Thanks. We'll get back to you in between our conversation. Let's now pan back to the MD CEO Marine Guards Limited, Amodu Samson Ayebe, who has equally joined us to speak on the Benue State crisis. Mr. Ayebe, if you're there, can you also answer one very key question? You've also been at the security front in terms of your company, ensuring that you offer protection or services, as it were, to ensure that there is security of lives and properties. Can you also share with us, as an expert, what you think may have gone wrong that granted access to these assailants to have made their way to Yelewata, spent 3 hours, and still walked out unscathed? Can you share with us what you think may have gone wrong? Possibly lapses or whatever it is, I mean, using your thoughts and experience.
I wouldn't say, I think it would be uncouth to say it is a practice and then a tradition with the Nigerian security architecture, whereby we only react, not being proactive. Majorly, there should have been intelligence that these people are camped and then they are approaching a certain community, and then such attacks will be ward off when there is proper intelligence. It starts with gathering intelligence, knowing the enemies, where they are camped and what routes they are coming, and then you ambush them. But that notwithstanding, I had a stint in Niger, and then Niger wasn't even on fire. So I kept warning. When I was attending to an interview with WeFM then in Abuja, I told them, I said, there are sleeper cells in Niger. And when those sleeper cells are, activated, there will be issues. And in just few months, Niger caught fire and it spread to other part of the Middle Belt. Because once they are on the motorbike, on their way coming to or going to any community, we get information. They call us that they've seen those guys on the bike, but we don't know where they are going to. And I'm sure such informations are being shared with the Nigerian military. But above that, technology, which I know that is not all of those that the military want to share and how they tackle these issues. I know they have thermal sensors, drones with thermal sensors that can pick, and then whatever that is alive, whether under the cave, under the stone, will know that there are people there. And then money have been expended to get a lot of weaponry for the military. The Air Force is there, and interdiction has happened all across, and then the air support with the soldiers on the ground. But we keep having this reoccurrence when it happens, and then we are reacting. I feel that there's failure of intelligence, and we truly need to, put more effort in gathering intelligence and getting to know. Those are very gory sights, children, women being killed, and then all you see overnight. I wonder if the printers don't sleep. Then you now see posters across the states across the state that the president is visiting, and he's not coming to commission a project. People have been displaced from their natural habitat, and what do you expect? We are just trying to, even on set like this, trying to manage emotions and then control, choose our words wisely so that you don't, add insult to injury. For the politician, he's thinking of the next election while the people are left licking their wounds.
Much ado about community policing. It's been talked about over and over again. There is the spokesperson for the Senate, and that's Senator Yemi Adaramodu, has now called for a security summit with all of the stakeholders, plus everyday Nigerians. And we do know that he said that they will be, of course, going into Benue today for a commemoration visit to the governor. Community policing has now come to the fore due to this discussion. Do you see community policing a solution to these killings? Because we have to bear in mind that this is as far back as 2023. Will it solve the issue?
Well, we are in a very complex society where anything that is supposed to be for good might be taken advantage of. The fear of politicians hijacking the structure, if at all they are left to set up, community police. And then before you know it, it's going to be a tool in their hands to hunt down their enemies. But that notwithstanding, what is good is good. Let us start it first. I know that in every community, the district heads, which I refer to as the first-hand supervisors, security supervisors, they know the bad people around. They know the ones that, can cause them problem. If you go to any community now, they will pinpoint the bad eggs for you. But what do you do? And how do you tackle them? So the community policing has been in the front burner for long. When money are expended, the government is talking about, recruiting forest guards up to 150,000. I think by privileged information, that is ongoing. People are being profiled, those that will be recruited and then manage our forests, where we believe that those guys are camped. Those guys are very mobile. They move from one place to the other. They don't have a station camp, which I'm sure the military is aware of. So community policing is, for me, is the way to go. Once you travel abroad, and then before you know, the sheriff around will come, specifically the US, asks you, you are new in town, where do you stay, and all of that. Then you need to just answer the questions correctly for you to enjoy your stay. Then you now talk about how proactive. I don't want us to begin to compare ourselves to advanced countries like America. Vance Bolsia also, that is accused of shooting the senator, the Democratic senator, where within 2 or 3 days, they've hunted him down and he's being tried. So we expect the same thing here. The gap is being narrowed because the world is now a global village where we don't need to go through the paths they went through to get to where they are. We can as well from jump and then have a double leap jump to get to where we are by borrowing lead from those countries that have gone ahead of us. I think the only thing we try to copy, and will copy very well, is the negatives, and that is very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate indeed. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayebe, for speaking with us, and thanks for shedding more light on the current situation. Hopefully, the president's presence in Benue State will put an end to these incessant killings. Thanks for your time.
We hope so. We hope so.
All right, we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we would be bringing you the news from top of the hour. But in the meantime, it's been a very, very deep conversation about what's about to happen in Benue State. Stay with us. Breakfast Central continues. At the top of the hour, we will bring to you the breakfast headlines.
A very good morning to you and welcome. It's time for us to bring you the breakfast headlines here on Breakfast Central. I am Judith TV. We begin with the mass murder in Yelewata, Benue State, where President Bola Tinubu is expected to pay a condolence visit to the state today following a series of violent attacks that have claimed numerous lives. The Benue State government has declared the day a public holiday to enable residents to welcome the president and his delegation, although essential service workers such as medical personnel, security agencies, and bankers are exempted. The visit, described as significant and symbolic, aims to commiserate with the government and people of Benue and encourage unity amidst the recent tragedies. He urged the people of the state to manage their diversity, anger, and frustration and leave as one united people. President Tinubu is expected to meet with all stakeholders, including traditional rulers, political, religious, community leaders, and youth groups to seek lasting solutions to the hostilities. Meanwhile, the Senate leadership has offered to accompany President Bola Tinubu to Benue State today to also commiserate with the people of Yelewata over the recent massacre of their kinsmen by suspected Fulani herdsmen, saying they are tired of the killings. Senate Committee Chairman on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Adeyemi Adaramodu, disclosed the offer while briefing journalists on the activities of the upper chamber in the last 2 years. Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, condemned the Benue killings, describing it as barbaric, disturbing, and totally unacceptable. Addressing the activities of the Senate, Adaramodu said beyond paying condolence visits, whenever there were major attacks, the Senate had perfected strategies to end barbaric killings across the country. And on to more here, as Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has reiterated the federal government's commitment to a free, responsible, and vibrant press as a cornerstone for national development and democratic progress. Speaking during the public presentation of Nigeria Media Renaissance, Perspectives on Online Publishing, organized by the Guild of Corporate Online Publishers, the minister emphasized the crucial role of digital media in shaping public discourse, promoting national unity, and holding leaders accountable. He also said that the government has made significant progress towards the takeoff of the UNESCO Category 2 Media and Information Literacy Institute.
One single false report can ignite violence, can disrupt markets, can destroy reputation in a matter of minutes. So it is our collective responsibility to ensure that we come together in unity to fight this menace. To address this, I am pleased to inform you that the federal government has made significant progress towards the takeoff of the UNESCO Category 2 Media and Information Literacy Institute here in Abuja in November of this year.
The ECOWAS Commission has been tasked to initiate immediate administrative restructuring within the Commission in the light of the exit of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso from the regional bloc. Now, this call was made during a meeting by the Commission's Finance Committee in Abuja, where urgent calls were made ahead of deliberations where committee members called for member states to ensure the payment of community levies and the filling of administrative vacancies made available by exiting staff from the countries of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso.
The ECOWAS Commission needs to fast-track this process of filling the available vacancies in these institutions in compliance with the Council decision of 2018. Tied to this assigned task is the need to consider members of staff of all categories who have indicated interests, such as those who have been stagnated, that is, lack career progression. The situation of these affected staffs needs to be looked into with compassion, and they should be considered in the spirit of the Golden Jubilee of ECOWAS, which we are all celebrating.
And just outside Nigeria, at least 9 persons have been injured in Kenya's protests. Market stores closed and motorbike delivery riders stayed put as hundreds are protesting the death of 31-year-old teacher Albert Adwang in police custody earlier this month. While many calling for an end to police brutality gathered peacefully, tensions have risen as the East African country, approaches the first anniversary of massive Gen Z-led protests sparked by tax rises, which the government has been desperate to avoid this year.
Niko hapa kuongelea kwa mabodaboda wako hapa ambao hawafanyi saizi kazi zao zimesimamishwa. Kwa sababu ya nini? Sakaja ameenda amebeba magoons huko slums kuleta CBD na kuja kuandamana na wananchi ambao wako politely. Hawana chochote in the name to protect CBD.
You cannot come to a place where there is conflict. Business needs peace, harmony. And even most clients here, they drive themselves here. Now you cannot drive your car into a place where there is conflict. So there is very, very, very minimal activities around.
And that's all we can take on Breakfast Headlines. So many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV. After the break, we will bring you the newspaper front pages analysis with our analysts. You're watching Breakfast Central. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's take a look at the front pages. Today, it's a bumper one because we have roughly, let's say, we have up to maybe 35 minutes of good conversation. To my left, I've got the one and only Sheson Okwade joins us this very good morning. It's good to see you. I mean, someone sent a message and said, this one is looking ever young. This administration is touching him.
with the presence of my friend that you have brought together with me this morning. I'm in savings.
Okay. And to the far left, we do have Mr. Dotu Ojon, who joins us. So it's a banger. Let's use that word. It's going to be a banger.
We've been together for a while.
We've been together, Seso and I have been together for years. Wow. And it's so good to reconnect this morning.
I love that. So the front pages won't be the same, right? I don't think it's going to be the same. Let's go straight to the front pages very quickly because we need to get your points out as soon as possible. You can call in, but please don't feel bad if we are not taking your calls almost immediately. The very first paper we're going to look at very quickly and touch on the story and get your reactions is our very first paper for this morning. I think we should look at This Day. I like what we have on This Day newspaper. CBN affirms strength of Nigerian banking sector, issues routine guidance for banks under forbearance. But that's not what we're going to take. We'll look at this particular story. Senate leadership joins presidential trip to Benue, says it is tired of killings. Let's have your take on that. By the way, just to add to the Benue conversation, which I think will dominate our conversation on papers for the next few minutes, there was a communique that circulated. I don't know if you saw the communique, gentlemen, where people were urged to come out, to throng out and support the president upon his arrival. Our reporter just joined us, and at his back, they had printed backdrops of the governor welcoming the president. There's supposed to be some form of, presentation. They told people to come out and celebrate, and people were cleaning Benue as at midnight. Cut the grass, make sure it looks beautiful. This is the same state that's in crisis. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Sheson, in line with what we have on the front page. What's your take?
Yeah, first and foremost, let me use this platform to condole with the people of Benue State and Nigeria at large on the sad incident. I personally call it a massacre, where you have, from the reports and what we saw, over 100 people, not just individuals, we have family wrecked. I read a report of a man losing the wife, and I think about 3 children, you know. Four children. And I asked myself, that's a generation that you've actually eliminated from the planet Earth. With the report you just asked, I would say, yesterday on the sister station, they were asking me, and I said, I asked myself the importance of the visit of Mr. President to Benue. Why are we, as a country, and why our leaders are reactive to issues and not proactive. The issue on ground is something that is preventable. It's something we come on this table practically every day. Every week I come in here, Joe and Jody, there is no day we don't talk about the issue of insecurity. Several provisions, several suggestions have been given by several people, but we choose to do the same thing the same way, and we expect different results. We've been, Mr. President, what is disheartening to me as a person, to Mr. President, is I will say that this is not the man I know while he was in Lagos. Because he's an advocate of grassroots, that we want to do things differently. I knew quite all right. I was in the space when President Obasanjo was dealing with the governor of Lagos State. And he took the bull by the horn to say, I will give the best to my people. And I feel part of the things he can leave as legacy was when he came in, I was thinking that state policing and community policing will be a priority that can tame this level of insecurity. And we've said it, if we must address the level of the insecurity we have now, we must start galvanizing to have like a database. I must be able to know, Joe is putting on his suit. He's just entering into our community. We must profile in. Where are you coming from? Why do you choose to be part of us? Because if you ask me, series of massacres has happened. I know the one that happened in Ondo State. A series of states where we know has been very peaceful are suddenly being a place where trauma happens now that we cannot even prepare of. So I've asked myself, why is Mr. President? Because the IGP came the other time and said, we are not right for it. We are not right for state policing. We are not right for community policing. But I know that if we don't even talk about community policing, as far as this state is concerned, and some other state that I know, every estate does not rely on the security of the government. That's on its own community policing, because they have their own private security architecture that provide and they pay for, and they make things happen. Why can't we now ask local government, state government to have their own? And I think with that we can start, because I can't imagine the government made us understand that they are foreigners. How can foreigners encroach into your state and you don't actually know what is happening?
I wish, you know, just to sort of zero this down and make it more narrow in terms of how we're, you know, analyzing this. Yelewata itself is a agrarian community, and that means that there are forests and farmlands that are wide and, you know, vast, right? And so in communities like this, there's always a breakdown in security, whether because they are far-flung or they're further away from the urban areas, right? They're very rural to the core. And that means that they may not be any existence, not saying that they are not. Again, the operative words is they may not be an existence of an operative in terms of a working police station or a checkpoint that has people that are manned with weapons, you know, or, you know, thereabouts. So even if there are people who are coming in the hundreds or thousands or tens, they may not know how to get out to the main urban areas to get, you know, emergency security first responders as quickly as possible. And I think that's what we also need to factor that into, because all of these places that we're seeing, all of these communities that we're seeing are communities that are far-flung inside, inaccessible. They have to get through with motorcycles, and their roads are not pliable.
And that is why I will continue to say the essence of community policing. That will take care of that particular aspect. You concentrate more on the urban area. Most of the areas where I've been, a few years ago, I was in Kaduna, where at the heat of it, where they say everywhere is being attacked. But I said to people that care to listen then, that we were actually at the urban area. We never knew anything was going on. As a matter of fact, we went to club till around 12 midnight. At that particular time, when everybody was saying everywhere is heat, you don't have to go. It's actually the suburb. But when you have community policing, it becomes a priority for you to take care of such police. You said something now that they don't have physical structure or policing. They may not have in that particular area. They may not have. But when you entrench community policing, it becomes a priority. If the state government is not doing it, community can galvanize resources within themselves and look for a way to build. I've seen instances where people build structure
for policing because they know the importance of that in their area. But when there is no room for you to even say there must be community policing, how are we going to? Because as soon as you start doing that, then you hear somebody saying that it's against the law for you to carry out what you are doing because it's not entrenched in our constitution.
Dawson, I'm going to come to you for this, right? Like you rightfully said, the IGP of police have said that community policing should not be at the fore of this conversation because the police itself is lacking in a lot. There's a lot of deficit when it comes to manpower, in machineries and the rest, and there's still so much that needs to be done regarding that. As community policing is not on the front, weeks ago, barely a month, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we saw in the news that the general of the Nigerian army was relocating to Benue, Makurdi, the capital, and will be staying there. Just barely weeks after we have seen that attack, should the general head be on the chopping block, Dotun?
Okay, so it's actually, I don't know where to start from, honestly, because the people of Benue are only, they may not be too interested in our conversation this morning. They are only looking at 2 sources for help. They are looking at 2 major sources. They are looking at Abuja, then they are looking at the government house in Benue. Before I answer your question, I quickly want to say, unfortunately, these 2 sources, the first one is looking helpless, appearing helpless, obviously coming out to say, I am helpless. And the other source is saying, indirectly, I am overwhelmed. When you are in this situation, then you begin to think that the hope of the people in their government will continue to be dashed. As you have said, coming to your question, if the president gives an instruction, for example, and says, and we have seen this over and over, before this president came on board, there was a president, in fact, there was an inspector general of police who said that I was relocating to a place. He was found in another community, and nothing happened. So we have seen a cultural practice where the president or somebody in leadership will give instruction, and those that are supposed to follow, they don't get to follow through, and at the end of the day, nothing is happening. At this point in time, we have said it repeatedly that the government must restructure the security architecture in Nigeria. But here are about 4 dimensions of restructuring. The first thing is that the problem we have with our military and our police and everybody is not with the gun-carrying members of the military. It's with the money-carrying members of the military, those who are in control of budget. And of course, you and I will understand the fact that once there's insecurity, it becomes a booming business in the security sector because people will begin to, there will be allocation that they don't account for. And I've said it repeatedly that there are about 3 major ways to steal money from government. You had it under security, you had it under special project, you had it under information. And this has happened for a very long time. So the first dimension of restructuring that needs to happen, answering your question, is the fact that if I give you a responsibility as a leader and you fail in it, you're going to pay dearly for it. Go home is not just any kind of payment. It's too lenient. It's not just about going home. Failing in your responsibility should come with repercussion. But we have built a community where people think they can do anything without any kind of repercussion.
All you have to do is cry on national television.
That's number 1. That's all.
No, just cry.
Even when you don't cry, just show that.
Just show.
Number 2 restructuring that needs to happen, Sesson. And I like the way you put it, but again, let me tell you that if you check through the Constitution, as we speak in Nigeria today, there's already a provision where people can create state police. Lazy governors will come to tell you that they need a special provision. But here, I was in Kano. Hitchback came to disrupt our event under the guise of working for the state, desecration. You know, those states today, Amotekun is working brilliantly. It was because somebody stood that they don't have everything they need to have. We must have that conversation. They don't carry an AK-47. They still carry this kind of guns. But the truth is also a truism that to a very great extent, the presence of Amotekun has actually created some kind of sanity within the community. State governors, as we speak now, are receiving allocation in amounts that they have never seen before. That's why at every point in time I get disappointed because I've peeped into government. I've been in this business for since when I was 22. So I know the spending of government. I can tell you that this state got this amount, and from the amount they got, it's disheartening that 40% of it go into private pocket. So number 2, when we are restructuring our architecture, we must pay attention that we do not need a new law in Nigeria to make things work. We only need new logic. The small allowance you have to make things happen, please make it happen. I do not expect Governor of Benue State to come on TV and painting an impression that there's nothing I can do. Well, number three, please let me quickly just make this point. Right. Number three is the fact that when we want to restructure our security architecture, we must pay attention to the feeling of the people more than the politics of the land. What we do now is that government is not paying attention to anything that will not bring him glory. And what do I mean? We prefer to put some trillions in road making, into house building that we will never complete in the next 4 years, than ensuring that we sensitively and strategically make investment in areas that will make our people lead a better life. Now, number four, which is the most important, is the fact that we must change our mentality in Nigeria. When you talk about security, I say to people that when you are at the West and you hear of gun story, they just shot somebody in the school and all of that. But you still have the impression that the West is safe. Why? Security most of the time is about the time limit of response. It's not just about prevention, it's also about response. So if you have a responsive community that responds to crime as quickly as possible, in your head you think that that community is safe. And for you to be able to respond to any crime appropriately, there's this 10% strategy in philosophy. It is believed philosophically that there will always be 10% of your populace that want to commit crime. The role of government is to rally the remaining 90% against this crime. And they can only rally you when you believe in your government. But as we have it now, Nigerian people do not believe in the Nigerian government.
It's a tough one. Let's go to Daily Times very quickly. There's a very sweet story there. I call it sweet because it's indeed sweet. PDP's 100th neck threatened as INEC recognizes Anyanwu. The Daily Times. The Daily Times. At the top there, PDP's 100th National Executive Committee meeting threatened as INEC recognizes Anyanwu. I don't know if we've been following the PDP drama. Anyanwu has been recognized by INEC, and this is a big one. Anyway, let's take this call.
We do have Austin joining us from Lagos. Austin, a very good morning to you.
Morning, Austin.
We have Austin.
Okay. Lost him. Anyway, let's look at the PDP story. That's a big one. I would like us to look at that, but let's also look at this one. NHRC worries over killings in Benue Plateau, says food insecurity looms. Adamawa APC denies Ribado's endorsement, insists it only passed confidence vote. And Nigeria losing oil firms to insecurity, PENGASSAN. Let's look at this. Either of these stories, the PDP recognizing Anyanwu, and then Nigeria losing oil firms to insecurity, according to PENGASSAN. Now, remember that PENGASSAN also came out yesterday to say that the price of fuel should at least come down to 707 or 750, and that marketers are making a kill over the price, they're increasing it at will, while blaming the fight again in Israel and Iran, talking about the war that's ongoing. What's your take on that, Mr.
Yeah, the two stories that you laid before us, as regard PDP, pardon me, I decided not to even interfere in all this, their politicking that they are doing, because the essence of them being there is for good governance, and we are not getting it. So whatever they have internally, within themselves, they should settle it. They should come out and see how strong they can be, and see how they can be a better and formidable critique, of this administration. APC did that during their, it's not that they didn't have their problem, but let them put themselves together and see how they can criticize.
So you agree with the words of the president?
Yeah?
The words of the president.
Well,
he likes it. Like my colleague would say, you love it.
You love it.
So, say yes.
Because I can tell you for free, the ruling party has their internal crisis, but they are managing it. So they should look internally and say the best they can offer. Nigerians expect much more than what we are seeing from them as opposition party in this administration, and we are not getting that which is expected. As regard the issue of PENGASSAN and the oil marketers, the insecurity we're discussing is another. Joe, you need to understand how people outside the shore of country calls us on daily basis as if Nigeria is a failed nation. At times I will call my people and say, excuse me, I'll be traveling to Akure, where you go practically like every other day. Yeah. And we say, sir, are you flying? I say, no, I'm going by road. Say, please, you don't have ransom to pay. Neither do we have this to say. I say, it's not that bad now. I'm going to Ibadan. They say, are you going to get police protection? I say, for what? It's not. I say, no, we just heard. We just read. So the impression outside the shore of the country is as if Nigeria is, and each time we now have stories like this of Benue, it amplified it the more to say that nowhere is safe in the country. So you can imagine an investor coming into that sector. How do you want to protect and shield their expatriates or even the locals that you are engaging in the service that they intend to provide? It's something that government is really turning eyes away, but they don't know the economic damage they are actually providing to we the citizen. Because you can imagine if there is security, there is bound to be prosperity, sincerely speaking. Fact. And we have said it again that this idea of waiting, because yesterday we read in the headlines where they said the fight between Israel and Iran is responsible for the increase. And I have come out as an economic person to say, see, of what benefit it is, I have a raw material that that God has blessed me with without any struggle. And I'm sovereign to get the finished product being worked out. If we have, hypothetically, 1.5 million barrels per day, I'm just giving that figure, nothing stops us of pulling out. First and foremost, do we have data of our daily consumption? We have asked this question severally, and we have not gotten a reply to say, this is the range of what we consume as per PMX, DPK, AGO, that when we locally refine this product, this is the expected result. That can give us to say, okay, if you have 1.5 million, can we have a guarantee to say 500 is given to the local refiners, whether government-owned or the private sector? And we have an agreement with you. What is your cost of processing this thing? We will give you this as the raw material. I'll be able to, so that we can give a good respite to our citizens because it is our product. But all we hear is that the market forces has never favored us. All you see in the developed climate in Asia is that they first self-satisfy themselves before they consider exporting those things out. Of what benefit it is that you are selling our crude oil and you are making money and we are not benefiting for it. As far as I'm concerned, it's for the few. But go ahead and have an agreement with every of the production, the refiners, and say, we are ready to give this to you. I give kudos to say that, okay, Naira for crude, particular thing, but it still hangs on the market force. How much are they selling it? What will become of us by the time you hear that the cost of crude oil is about $100 per barrel? That means what we are enjoying now at 800 and something might skyrocket to another, maybe 1,200 or 1,300.
That's what government
on all levels. On all levels.
It's looking like.
Yeah.
We must redefine the scope of things. We own this raw material. Utilize this for us first. This money you want to gain by selling, how can I be selling, I'm producing this thing, and Joe is my brother, I'm selling it out. I'm selling out the raw material, and Joe has to go and buy. When he can benefit directly from it, set up our refinery. If the government cannot manage it, let's get individuals that can invest. Dangote has opened up the floor. Let's encourage so that other people can invest in this and see how they can satisfy us. Give him specific quota of what he is supposed to produce locally for the people. Then if he has external ones that he needs to export, then we can be giving him at the market price. We cannot continue to be suffering our people and feel that we are under governance, good governance.
Two things here. The very first one is transparency, like you rightfully said. And that's a problem that we see here at the core of everything in our MDAs, from the national level down to the grassroots. Transparency has always been an issue. And then second is accountability and the core of it being for the people instead of politicizing it. And that is what has happened increasingly in the oil sector. Are we ever going to get to a point where all of this that is mentioned is seen in action in our oil sector?
Okay, so I totally believe that we're going to get to that point, because the only thing we can continue to bank on as far as our nation is concerned is hope. And we'll continue to engage government just the same way we are engaging it. I said it repeatedly, democracy is a government of figure and feeling. When you continue to bank on the figure that you have, and you do not care about the feeling of the people, at the end of the day, you're going to come out as a big failure, which is what is looking at in government today. Now, just as Sesson said, I've repeatedly also said it, that you see, when you create prosperity in a community for a class, you are creating crisis without knowing. And once you do not redefine your concept of prosperity, you drive more people into poverty. He was saying it now. He didn't know that it's almost costing the government, because you were saying that, God forbid, that a barrel of crude gets to $100. But that's what the president is praying for. Because the mindset of, yes, they hate you now. Yes, because the mindset of this government is more money.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they enforce the emergency rule, isn't it?
I say, when you say, people don't understand concept. In government, you say, when government says, I'm removing subsidy, it doesn't mean that I'm taking subsidy away. It means that I'm swapping the payer of subsidy. That means that I've been paying before, but now I want you to pay. I don't know whether you get the concept. And that's exactly what the government is saying. They only swap the payee of the subsidy. Now when they get more money, they believe that what they need is more money. And the people will continue to slide into more poverty. So it's so sad. And unfortunately, let me quickly add this to what you don't want to talk about. Unfortunately, the PDP that is supposed to be on their neck and be pressing it slightly so that they cannot breathe very well, the PDP is in complete disarray. And it has shown me in my study of politics in Nigeria that the only thing that unites a political party is power. Whenever they fall out of power, and you will see the crisis that will break out in APC when they fall out of power, immediately they fall off power, then crisis in the community. The crisis in PDP will have been avoidable. But they put themselves where they are now. And I think they should not blame anybody. It's injustice to be blaming the government of the day for being responsible for what they are going through. It's absolute injustice. They created what they are going through. They have the capacity to rectify it if they are willing to make sacrifices. But unfortunately, once it's about power, nobody is ready to make sacrifice. It's either me or me. And that's why they are still where they are.
Well, another thing to look at is, if we have time, let's touch on the Guardian newspaper. Look at the top left there. I was trying to see how I can glean quickly on that story. The top left there says something very intriguing. Concerning the PDP, like you mentioned, INEC rejects PDP's NEC meeting notice without secretary's signature.
Yes. So it is, in the constitution of PDP, I wanted to touch on that. It is stated that it is any correspondence that goes to INEC must be signed by the secretary.
Right. So why?
So when, no, he was not the one that signed. So Ayaw is not the one that signed. That's what led to the story of his acceptance. So INEC is telling them that the only secretary that we recognize is actually Ayaw.
But the Constitution, according to the PDP stalwarts, have said that Ayaw is not the secretary. Now, anyway, this divide is a conversation that I don't think we can have.
No, so sorry, sir. It is not the Constitution that says Ayaw is not the secretary. It is party leadership that says it. But of course, because I've run a political party, sitting as a chairman of a political party has made me to understand that, you see, when it comes to correspondence to INEC, the national chairman, in fact, to the point that if you do your primary at the state level for governorship, it is not the state chairman that will write. It's not the chairman of the political party. It is the national secretary of the party that will still communicate same to INEC. So any correspondence that is happening at the national level between INEC and political party must be signed by the secretary. INEC is coming out to say the only authentic secretary we know is, permit me to use this phrase, is Wike's boy. Thank you.
Okay, so that's where before you
I was waiting for that to happen.
let me take it from there. When I said constitution, I meant constitution of the party, not Nigeria's.
Yeah, I understand. Yes.
The party constitution that guides the party.
Yeah. Right.
We did have one of the stalwarts, I mean, one of the chieftains of the PDP here, seated here, and he made it clear that the party does not recognize him as a secretary.
Yes.
The reason is because you had left your seat and went to contest, which automatically means that you've missed it. And then after a period of time, you came back and still installed yourself as, I mean, we saw the kicking and the fighting at some point in those videos. But anyway, so let me let you react. Let me let you react.
I don't know, I'm not PDP per se, and not too deep in politics. The fact remains that are there correspondence? Because it's not just enough to say you left your seat, duty post, and you came back. There must definitely be documentation. Pardon me, you know I'm a chartered accountant.
Absolutely.
And we believe so much in that.
You don't play.
You must put your blood. If there is no documentation to INEC communicating the change for replacement, you're only kidding. You know, it's not only in PDP now. All of us,
Labour Party
everywhere, aside political party, we always make this joke where we are. They say, no secretary, no meeting. That's the way we always put it. Is to tell you how strong. So it's not enough to say this has actually happened. Are there documentary evidence to show that at the time you left your seat, these were actually the correspondence that we exchanged, giving your replacement and duly honored or acknowledged by INEC to say this? If there is nothing, if you start exchanging words with it, it's your words against my words. And we hold no water. Right. And I think that's what INEC is doing at this point in time to say, as far as our own file, our document is concerned, this is the person we recognize as the secretary of the party.
I'm going to say the quiet part out. I think that I'm already known for this, so forgive me, right? But you sort of set us on that course. And that is the weapon that is fashioned against PDP. Can we address it? Can PDP overcome the weapon that is fashioned against it, and is none other than the personified, the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike?
Okay, so Wike is not the problem of PDP.
Why do you say so?
Fantastic. Every other person now, if you put all of these PDP stewards that we talk about, if you line 10 of them, you line them up, you discover that at one point or the other, more than 7 of them has decamped to other party. When they left PDP and went to other party, it was one man that was supporting the party, that was funding the party, because the most expensive business in Nigeria today is political business. To maintain a political party, you need billions of naira. I mean billions of naira. And it's coming, all of them went away. Now they have come back, truly. And that's why they lack the courage to, by now, if they were in charge of the party, they should have suspended him. But they knew that they do not have, all of them, they do not have the moral ground to do it because they chicken out.
Yep. All right, so just give me a sec. I just need to take it back to say, this was speculative, right? We don't know if Wike is indeed the weapon that is fashioned against, PDP. But of course, I needed to frame that question to spur this conversation.
I totally understand.
Anyway, I think I want us to leave the PDP. You know why? There's a big one, and we're out of time. And I think we need to touch on it very quickly. On The Guardian as well, doctors must be incentivized to stay in Nigeria, says Obasanjo. Obasanjo has finally lent his voice to doctors who are jackpying, who are leaving the country. And then federal government ties credit score to NIN, a major reform plan. Lastly, I want us to look at this big story on the front page there. Property owners shun sea of old title registries over bureaucracy, graft. What's your take on this? I'm sure these men in the studio are property owners, one way or the other. And we know what it is like getting C of O. It is a problem. Quickly, 30 seconds each. I mean, what you make of this?
I would say that government business, we should start redirecting things with the advent of technology. A lot of this problem can be resolved. There are a lot of bureaucracy and bottlenecks, human interference when it comes to you having any business to do with the government. And this we must change. We must get to the level that IT speaks You can scan it. I've had calls to interface with private organization, and I won't step at their office for anything. We have a meeting online. All our the documentation are done online, and you see the approval happening online, and you see the business. We are talking of multi-million business carried out, and they will do their due diligence without you even coming to see your face. Okay, is Judith? Is she black? Is it this? No. All they want is that they have done their due diligence behind the scene without you saying, and technology will do it. These are phones that we're all carrying about now go a long way to speak who and who is actually carrying out a particular data. And I think government should look for a way to start integrating into this, because every state you go, except those that have embraced technology, even in the area where we specialized on tax revenue, the only way FRS is boasting today that they are actually having more revenue to collect from the people is because they've adopted technology, which is their Pro-Max. But for states at the subnational that are still going the route of come and fill paper, I can't remember the last time I visited a bank to go and carry out a transaction, because technology now solved the problem. So government must look for a way to integrate, and we are not saying that they should shun the civil servant. They should give them enough training to integrate them into the system, because technology is the next way to go if we must grow in our economy.
Let me talk about
quickly,
the
please,
doctor story of Obasanjo. And I wanted to jokingly start by saying, native doctor go they treat us if we are not careful.
The way it's going, the way it's going.
But of course, the one fantastic way out of this trouble is it's not just about handing money to people. Fund the education sector, pay particular attention to medicine. Let them pay less than what they are paying now with a written agreement with the government. When you graduate, you must stand there, you must work for Nigeria for 3 years. Once you put this in place, at least you are certain that your universities will continue to churn out doctors that at least must stay with you for 3 years. When you do this for a period of 5 years, you will have circulated doctors around.
But those 3 years, the doctors are here. But in 3 years, the doctors are here, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're still here and they're working.
It's after 3 years.
So they're still good.
No, before the 3 years, you will have filled them with another set of people.
Hang on.
Thank you for watching, guys.
Joe, before we do that, I have a special request. On this table, there's someone whose birthday was yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's true. It's true.
Now, is it me? The answer is no. Is it Joe? Unfortunately, no. Out of these 2 gentlemen, there's none other than the man himself, Mr. Dotun Ojo. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
We are so glad for your birthday. We're so happy to celebrate 1 more year, to see you, clock a year. But also, we're very appreciative of you, of all the hard work and coming in here as early as you can and giving your best every single time. The entire Breakfast Central team and also News Central is so grateful for you, and we want to say everyone here in the house, happy birthday.
Thank you
May this
so
new
much.
year bring all of the blessings, and may every day be a day of answered prayers for you for the rest of your life.
Amen.
Happy
Thank you
birthday.
so much.
I think
And that's it. That's it.
church for Judith.
No,
The way it's going.
the funny thing is I'm agnostic.
I think so. Okay, you want to be the treasurer?
I know, maybe start collecting tax. I'll start collecting first seeds. Goodbye, everyone.
Maybe I'll be
Thanks for
collecting the
watching.
account when you collect.